Alfred Hitchcock, the master of suspense, a name synonymous with thrilling narratives, psychological depth, and a cinematic legacy that continues to captivate audiences decades later. For newcomers to the world of filmmaking, or even seasoned cinephiles looking to delve deeper into the mind of a true auteur, understanding Hitchcock's genius can feel like navigating a labyrinth. But what if the path to appreciating his brilliance was simpler than you thought? What if there were key insights, often overlooked, that could unlock the very essence of his storytelling power? This isn't just another list of his greatest hits, this is your essential guide, the roadmap to understanding the man behind the macabre, the maestro of mystery, the director who taught the world to look over their shoulder. We're going to peel back the layers, expose the mechanics of his suspense, and reveal why his films, even today, possess an uncanny ability to grip us from the opening scene to the final, chilling frame. Forget what you think you know, we're about to explore the Hitchcock no one tells you about, the foundational elements that make his work truly timeless. Before we dive headfirst into the suspenseful world of Hitchcock, if you're finding this introduction intriguing and want more insights into cinematic masters and their craft, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. And while you're at it, give this video a like. It really helps us bring you more content like this. Now, let's talk about the foundational elements that make a Hitchcock film instantly recognizable, even before you see his silhouette in a cameo. It's not just about the plot twists or the shock value, though he certainly mastered those. It's about the meticulous construction of tension, the deliberate manipulation of audience expectation, and a profound understanding of human psychology. Think about the MacGuffin, for instance. This is a plot device, a narrative catalyst that drives the characters and the story forward, but its actual nature is often secondary, even irrelevant. What matters is its effect on the characters and the ensuing chase or conflict. In the 39 Steps, it's a set of secret plans. In North by Northwest, it's a mysterious organization and what they're after. The audience becomes so invested in the pursuit of this elusive object, this MacGuffin, that they temporarily forget its intrinsic value. Hitchcock used this brilliantly to keep the audience engaged, always on the edge of their seat, wondering what the characters are striving for, even if the audience themselves doesn't fully grasp it. It's a testament to his ability to control the flow of information and direct our attention. Another crucial element is his masterful use of the wrong man trope. How many times do we see an innocent protagonist thrust into a dangerous situation, falsely accused, and forced to go on the run? Think of The Wrong Man, North by Northwest, and even Saboteur. This scenario plays on a primal fear, the fear of being unjustly targeted, of having your life turned upside down by circumstances beyond your control. It allows the audience to empathize deeply with the protagonist, to root for their escape and vindication. We project ourselves into their shoes, feeling their panic, their desperation, and their ingenuity as they try to evade capture and clear their name. Hitchcock understood that by placing an ordinary person in extraordinary peril, he could amplify the suspense and create a more relatable and engaging narrative. The audience isn't just watching a story, they're experiencing a vicarious ordeal. This isn't just about a chase, it's about the psychological burden of being an outsider, of being hunted, and the immense pressure to prove one's innocence against all odds. And then there's the power of suggestion, the unseen threat. Hitchcock rarely showed us the monster in full view. Instead, he built anticipation, allowing our own imaginations to conjure far more terrifying scenarios than he could ever physically depict. Consider the shower scene in Psycho. We don't see the knife actually penetrate Marion Crane's skin in graphic detail. We see quick cuts, the water, the blood swirling, the sheer terror in Janet Leigh's eyes. The impact is far more profound because our minds fill in the blanks, drawing on our deepest fears. This technique, known as visual suggestion, is a cornerstone of his suspense. He understood that what we don't see can be infinitely more frightening than what we do. He played with our expectations, leading us to believe a certain outcome, only to subvert it in a way that leaves us breathless. This isn't about gratuitous violence, it's about psychological manipulation, about tapping into the audience's inherent anxieties and fears. He was a surgeon of suspense, precisely cutting away at our comfort zones, leaving us exposed and vulnerable. Furthermore, Hitchcock's exploration of voyeurism is a recurring and deeply unsettling theme. In Rear Window, we, the audience, are complicit in L.B. Jeffries' obsession with his neighbors' lives. We peer through the lens with him, becoming voyeurs ourselves, drawn into the mundane and the potentially sinister. This creates a unique meta-narrative, blurring the lines between the characters' experiences and our own role as observers. We are invited to watch, to speculate, and in doing so, we confront our own latent curiosity and the ethical implications of intruding into the private lives of others. This isn't just about a detective story, it's a commentary on the human desire to know, to pry, and the potential consequences of such unchecked curiosity. He makes us question our own passive observation, turning the act of watching a film into an active, and sometimes uncomfortable, engagement with our own nature. This self-awareness is a key to his enduring appeal, forcing us to look inward as we are captivated by the external drama. The concept of guilt, both real and imagined, is another fertile ground for Hitchcock. In Vertigo, Scotty Ferguson is haunted by his acrophobia and his perceived failure to save Madeline. This guilt fuels his obsession and his descent into a psychological abyss. Hitchcock masterfully portrays the internal torment of his characters, showing how past traumas and perceived failures can consume them, leading to destructive behaviors. He understood that the greatest battles are often fought within the mind, and he brought these internal struggles to the forefront of his narratives, making them as compelling as any external conflict. This exploration of the human psyche, its vulnerabilities, and its capacity for self-destruction, is what elevates his films beyond mere entertainment. They become profound examinations of the human condition. He doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of our nature, instead, he shines a spotlight on them, forcing us to confront them, both within the characters and, by extension, within ourselves. And we cannot discuss Hitchcock without acknowledging his innovative use of camera work and editing to build suspense. He was a pioneer in using specific camera angles, slow zooms, and point-of-view shots to immerse the audience directly into the protagonist's experience. The famous dolly zoom, or vertigo effect, is a prime example, creating a disorienting and unsettling sensation that mirrors Scotty's psychological distress. He understood that the camera was not just a passive recording device but an active storyteller, capable of manipulating emotions and perceptions. He used it to create a sense of unease, to heighten tension, and to guide the audience's emotional journey, making them feel every pulse-pounding moment. His technical prowess was not for show, it was always in service of the narrative, of drawing us deeper into the world he so meticulously crafted. He was not just directing a film, he was orchestrating an emotional experience, using every tool at his disposal to create a visceral and unforgettable impact. This is why his films are studied not just for their stories, but for their very construction, for the genius behind the lens. Let's delve into a specific example that showcases this technical brilliance and psychological depth: the bird attack in The Birds. Here, Hitchcock takes an everyday, seemingly innocuous element of nature and transforms it into a terrifying force of destruction. The film doesn't rely on supernatural elements or monstrous creatures, instead, it weaponizes the ordinary. The sheer unpredictability of the birds' attacks, the lack of a clear motive, and the relentless nature of their assault tap into a primal fear of the unknown and the breakdown of natural order. We see the terror in the eyes of the characters as they are besieged by these seemingly harmless creatures, now turned into instruments of terror. Hitchcock's genius lies in his ability to find horror in the mundane, to twist the familiar into the terrifying. He makes us question the safety of our surroundings, the predictability of the world we inhabit. The film is a masterclass in building dread through gradual escalation and the sheer, overwhelming power of nature turned hostile. The visual composition, the sound design, or lack thereof, emphasizing the chilling silence before an attack, all contribute to an atmosphere of pervasive fear. It's a stark reminder that sometimes, the greatest threats come from the most unexpected places, and what we perceive as normal can quickly become our undoing. The sheer scale of the attacks, the way they engulf entire towns, amplifies the sense of helplessness and the terrifying realization that humanity is not always at the top of the food chain. This is not just about birds attacking people, it's about a disruption of the established order, a terrifying glimpse into a world where the rules we take for granted no longer apply. The ambiguity of the cause only serves to heighten the terror, leaving the audience to grapple with the unsettling notion that some horrors have no discernible explanation, only consequence. And this leads us to the subtle art of foreshadowing, another Hitchcockian hallmark. He masterfully plants seeds of unease early in his films, small details or seemingly innocent remarks that, in retrospect, take on a sinister significance. Think of the famous truck in the 39 Steps, which appears and disappears multiple times, a constant looming threat that the audience eventually recognizes as more than just a random occurrence. Or the subtle hints about Norman Bates's relationship with his mother in Psycho. These are not overt warnings, but rather carefully placed breadcrumbs that guide the audience's subconscious, building anticipation and a sense of impending doom. This technique not only adds layers of complexity and rewatchability to his films but also demonstrates his profound understanding of narrative structure and audience engagement. He trusts his audience to pick up on these cues, to feel the growing tension, and to anticipate the inevitable. It's a delicate dance of revelation and concealment, where every element serves a purpose, building towards a climactic payoff. This masterful manipulation of narrative threads ensures that the audience is not just a passive observer but an active participant in unraveling the mystery and experiencing the full emotional weight of the unfolding events. The more you watch, the more you discover these hidden connections, the more you appreciate the intricate tapestry he weaves. Consider the psychological impact of a character's vulnerability. Hitchcock was a master at exposing the inner turmoil of his protagonists, making their fears and anxieties palpable to the audience. In Vertigo, for instance, Scotty Ferguson's acrophobia isn't just a character trait, it's a physical manifestation of his internal struggles and his inability to confront his past. Hitchcock uses this vulnerability not to weaken his hero, but to make him more relatable and his journey more fraught with peril. The audience feels his struggle, his hesitations, and the sheer effort it takes for him to overcome his limitations. This deep dive into the human psyche, the exploration of our deepest fears and our most profound insecurities, is what makes Hitchcock's characters resonate so powerfully, even today. He understood that true suspense comes not just from external threats but from the internal battles we wage, the demons we fight within ourselves. This vulnerability becomes a crucial element of the suspense, as the audience fears not only for the character's physical safety but also for their psychological well-being. The intertwining of external danger with internal conflict creates a rich and complex narrative that keeps viewers captivated, emotionally invested, and constantly on edge. The concept of moral ambiguity is also a recurring theme that adds significant depth to Hitchcock's work. He often presented characters who were not purely good or evil, but rather flawed individuals operating in shades of gray. This complexity forces the audience to question their own moral compass and to grapple with difficult ethical dilemmas. In Notorious, for instance, Alicia Huberman is a morally compromised woman who finds herself in an impossible situation. Her choices are not always clear-cut, and her motivations are often complex, making her a fascinating and compelling character. Hitchcock's refusal to offer easy answers or to paint his characters in black and white challenged audiences to think critically about morality and the nature of human behavior. This ambiguity is a key reason why his films remain so thought-provoking and relevant, encouraging ongoing discussion and interpretation long after the credits roll. He doesn't provide a moral lecture, instead, he presents situations and characters that force the audience to engage in their own moral reasoning, making the viewing experience far more profound and lasting. This willingness to explore the darker, more complicated aspects of human nature is a testament to his artistic courage and his commitment to creating films that linger in the mind. Let's consider the element of surprise, or rather, the carefully controlled revelation of it. Hitchcock wasn't just about jump scares, he was about the slow, agonizing build-up to a moment of shocking realization. In Psycho, the revelation that Norman Bates is not the killer, but rather his mother, is a twist that completely redefines the narrative and our understanding of the events. This is not just a plot device, it's a masterful manipulation of audience expectations, a testament to his ability to lead us down a particular path only to abruptly and brilliantly change direction. He understood that the impact of a surprise is magnified when it is earned, when the audience has been led to believe something else entirely. This is why his twists are so effective. They are not random but are intricately woven into the fabric of the story, making them both shocking and, in retrospect, inevitable. He masterfully plays with our assumptions, making us believe we've figured it out, only to pull the rug out from under us in the most spectacular fashion. This is the art of misdirection at its finest, a hallmark of his genius that continues to inspire filmmakers and to thrill audiences. The satisfaction comes not just from the shock itself, but from the realization of how cleverly we were led to that point, a testament to his meticulous planning and his profound understanding of storytelling mechanics. And finally, the enduring power of Hitchcock's visual storytelling. He was a filmmaker who understood the power of the image, the evocative nature of a well-composed shot. He used visual metaphors and symbolism to convey complex emotions and themes without the need for excessive dialogue. The spinning staircase in Vertigo, the iconic silhouette of a man against a window, the close-ups on a character's terrified eyes, these are all visual cues that speak volumes, imbuing his films with a rich, poetic quality. He believed in showing rather than telling, trusting the audience to interpret the visual language of his films. This visual artistry is a key reason why his films remain impactful and relevant, transcending language barriers and cultural differences. His films are not just stories, they are visual poems, crafted with an artist's eye and a storyteller's heart. The meticulous attention to detail in every frame, the deliberate choice of lighting, camera angles, and set design all contribute to a cohesive and immersive cinematic experience. He understood that a single image could convey more than 1,000 words, and he wielded this power with unparalleled skill, creating some of the most iconic and unforgettable moments in cinematic history. This commitment to visual narrative elevates his work beyond mere entertainment, making it a profound and lasting contribution to the art of filmmaking. Hitchcock's legacy, however, is not solely built upon these foundational pillars of suspense and psychological intrigue. There's a deeper layer, a subtle yet pervasive exploration of the uncanny and the everyday made terrifying. Consider how he often grounds his most disturbing narratives in the mundane. The chilling events in The Birds unfold in a seemingly idyllic coastal town, a place of supposed safety and normalcy. This juxtaposition of the horrific with the ordinary is what makes his films so unsettling. It's the idea that danger can lurk not in exotic locales or supernatural realms, but in the familiar surroundings of our own lives, our homes, our neighbors, even the creatures we share our planet with. This is where the true genius of Hitchcock shines, in his ability to dismantle our sense of security by revealing the fragility of our perceived order. He doesn't just show us monsters, he shows us how our own world can become the monster. This is a crucial insight for anyone trying to grasp his enduring power. The fear he cultivates is rooted in the relatable, the everyday, making it all the more potent and persistent. Furthermore, his fascination with the duality of human nature is a recurring motif that adds immense complexity to his characters and narratives. He often presents protagonists who are not entirely virtuous, and antagonists who possess a certain, albeit twisted, logic or even charm. Think of Bruno Antony in Strangers on a Train. He's a charming, seemingly affable individual, yet harbors a psychopathic obsession that drives the plot. Hitchcock wasn't interested in black and white morality, he reveled in the gray areas, forcing his audience to confront the uncomfortable truth that good and evil are not always clearly delineated. This moral ambiguity is what makes his characters so compelling and his stories so enduringly relevant. We see reflections of ourselves, our own potential for darkness, in his flawed heroes and even in his more monstrous villains. This is where the true psychological depth lies. It's in the recognition that the capacity for both great kindness and terrible cruelty resides within us all. And this is precisely why his films continue to spark debate and analysis. What do you think about this exploration of moral ambiguity? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The concept of the unseen threat is also intrinsically linked to his masterful use of sound and silence. Hitchcock understood that what we hear, or even what we don't hear, can be as terrifying as what we see. The sudden absence of sound can create an unbearable tension, signaling an impending danger that our minds race to fill. Conversely, a subtle, recurring sound, the ticking of a clock, the distant rumble of thunder, the faint scratching at a door, can become a source of growing dread, a constant reminder of an unseen peril. In Psycho, the screeching violins of Bernard Herrmann's score are as iconic as the visuals, a sonic manifestation of Marion Crane's terror. This deliberate manipulation of auditory cues amplifies the psychological impact of his films, drawing the audience into a state of heightened awareness and vulnerability. He was a conductor of fear, using every sensory element at his disposal to orchestrate an unforgettable experience. Another key aspect of Hitchcock's storytelling that often gets overlooked by beginners is his meticulous attention to the architecture of suspense itself. It wasn't just about building to a climax, it was about the deliberate, almost scientific, construction of tension. He famously distinguished between a bomb under the table and a sudden explosion. If the audience knows about the bomb, they are in suspense waiting for it to go off. If the explosion happens without warning, it's merely a surprise. Hitchcock's genius lay in his ability to make us aware of the bomb, to let us anticipate its detonation, and to prolong that agonizing wait. He understood that anticipation, the knowledge that something terrible is going to happen, is often more terrifying than the event itself. This is what he called dramatic tension, and he was a supreme architect of it. He designed his films like intricate clockwork mechanisms, each piece precisely placed to maximize the audience's unease and engagement. The pacing, the editing, the framing, all were tools in his arsenal to ensure that the audience was perpetually on edge, their expectations constantly being played with and manipulated. The theme of entrapment, both physical and psychological, is also a recurring element that resonates deeply with audiences. Characters find themselves trapped in confined spaces, unable to escape pursuing threats, or ensnared by their own obsessions and guilt. In Rear Window, Jeffries is physically confined to his apartment, his leg in a cast, yet this limitation becomes the very catalyst for his investigation. Conversely, characters can be psychologically trapped by their past traumas, their secrets, or their perceived responsibilities, leading them down paths of self-destruction. This sense of inescapable fate, of being caught in a web from which there is no easy exit, is a powerful source of dread. Hitchcock understood that our primal fears often revolve around a loss of control, a feeling of being cornered with no way out. He masterfully exploited this, creating scenarios where escape seemed impossible, and the only option was to confront the inevitable, often with devastating consequences. This feeling of being trapped, of having one's agency stripped away, is a potent ingredient in the Hitchcockian recipe for suspense. His exploration of the uncanny valley, that unsettling feeling evoked by things that are almost, but not quite, human, is also evident, particularly in his depiction of characters who are outwardly normal but harbor dark secrets. Norman Bates is the quintessential example, a seemingly harmless innkeeper whose polite demeanor masks a terrifying psychosis. Hitchcock excelled at exploiting the dissonance between appearance and reality, creating characters who are both familiar and deeply disturbing. This is where the true horror lies for many viewers, the realization that the monster can be hiding in plain sight, disguised as one of us. It's a concept that taps into our innate distrust of the superficial and our fear of the hidden depths of human nature. He forces us to question our assumptions, to look beyond the surface, and to acknowledge the potential for darkness that exists even in the most innocuous of individuals. This constant questioning of what is real and what is merely a facade is a cornerstone of his psychological thrillers. Furthermore, Hitchcock's masterful use of foreshadowing, often subtly woven into the narrative, is a testament to his respect for the audience's intelligence. He doesn't spoon-feed information, instead, he plants seeds of unease, small details that, in retrospect, become crucial. The seemingly innocent remark, the fleeting glance, the recurring object, these all contribute to a growing sense of dread, a premonition of the horrors to come. This technique not only enhances rewatchability but also creates a deeper engagement with the film, inviting the audience to become active participants in deciphering the unfolding mystery. He trusts his viewers to connect the dots, to feel the rising tension, and to anticipate the inevitable, making the eventual payoff all the more satisfying. This intricate tapestry of narrative threads, where every element serves a purpose, is what elevates his films beyond mere entertainment and into the realm of true art. He was a storyteller who understood that the journey, the build-up of anticipation, is as important as the destination. The very fabric of reality in a Hitchcock film often feels subtly frayed, hinting at an underlying chaos that can erupt at any moment. This isn't about grand, supernatural forces, it's about the terrifying realization that the familiar can become a source of immense dread. Think of the seemingly peaceful countryside in The Man Who Knew Too Much, where a seemingly innocent tourist trip devolves into a deadly conspiracy. Hitchcock specialized in turning everyday settings into arenas of terror, demonstrating that danger isn't confined to shadowy alleys or haunted houses. It can exist in the bustling marketplace, the quiet suburban street, or even within the confines of one's own home. This grounding of horror in the mundane is a powerful tool, making his narratives resonate on a deeper, more primal level. It's the uncanny feeling that the world we know, the world we feel safe in, is inherently fragile and can be violently disrupted by forces we barely understand. This constant undercurrent of unease, the awareness that normalcy is a thin veneer over potential chaos, is a signature of his genius. He forces us to question our own sense of security, to realize that the ordinary can indeed be extraordinary in its capacity for terror. Furthermore, his persistent exploration of the duality of human nature, the constant interplay between good and evil, light and shadow, is what gives his characters such profound depth and enduring relevance. He rarely presented characters as purely heroic or villainous. Instead, he populated his films with complex individuals, flawed and often contradictory, whose motivations were as intricate as the plots themselves. Consider the enigmatic Mrs. Danvers in Rebecca. Is she a devoted servant, a vengeful spirit, or something else entirely? Hitchcock reveled in these ambiguities, forcing his audience to engage with the moral gray areas of human behavior. He understood that true psychological drama arises not from simplistic portrayals of good versus evil, but from the messy, often uncomfortable realities of human psychology. We see ourselves in his characters, in their struggles, their desires, and their capacity for both great kindness and terrible cruelty. This recognition of our own shared humanity, with all its imperfections, is a key reason why his films continue to captivate and provoke thought decades later. He doesn't offer easy answers, instead, he presents us with dilemmas that mirror our own, inviting us to question our own moral frameworks and to confront the uncomfortable truths about ourselves. This willingness to delve into the complexities of the human psyche, to expose our vulnerabilities and our hidden desires, is what elevates his work beyond mere entertainment and into the realm of profound art. The concept of the unseen threat, the power of what is implied rather than explicitly shown, is inextricably linked to his masterful manipulation of sound and silence. Hitchcock understood that our auditory senses could be as potent a tool for creating suspense as our visual ones. The sudden, deafening silence before an attack could be more terrifying than any scream, signaling an imminent danger that our minds would race to fill with the most horrific possibilities. Conversely, a subtle, recurring sound, the persistent ticking of a clock, the distant rumble of thunder that never seems to break into a storm, or a faint, almost imperceptible scratching at a door, could become a relentless source of dread, a constant, unnerving reminder of an unseen peril that was always just out of sight. In Psycho, the iconic screeching violins of Bernard Herrmann's score are as deeply ingrained in our cinematic memory as the terrifying visuals, serving as a sonic manifestation of Marion Crane's escalating terror. Hitchcock was a true conductor of fear, orchestrating every sensory element at his disposal, sight, sound, and even the absence of them, to craft an unforgettable, visceral experience that burrowed deep into the audience's psyche. He didn't just tell stories, he created immersive environments of suspense, where every detail, however small, was designed to heighten our unease and draw us further into the psychological labyrinth. Another crucial element of Hitchcock's storytelling, often overlooked by those new to his work, is his meticulous, almost scientific, approach to the architecture of suspense itself. He famously articulated the difference between a bomb under the table and a sudden explosion. If the audience is aware of the bomb, they are plunged into a state of suspense, constantly anticipating its detonation. If the explosion occurs without warning, it is merely a surprise. Hitchcock's genius lay in his profound understanding of this distinction. He masterfully made us aware of the bomb, allowing us to anticipate its inevitable detonation, and then, crucially, he prolonged that agonizing wait. He understood that the power of anticipation, the gnawing knowledge that something terrible is going to happen, is often far more terrifying and engaging than the event itself. This is what he termed dramatic tension, and he was its supreme architect. His films were designed like intricate clockwork mechanisms, each gear, each spring, precisely placed to maximize the audience's unease, their engagement, and their investment in the unfolding narrative. The pacing, the editing, the framing, every cinematic tool was employed in service of this singular goal, to keep the audience perpetually on edge, their expectations constantly being played with, manipulated, and ultimately, spectacularly subverted. The recurring theme of entrapment, encompassing both physical confinement and psychological ensnarement, resonates deeply with audiences across generations. Characters in Hitchcock's films frequently find themselves trapped in claustrophobic spaces, desperately attempting to evade pursuing threats, or, perhaps more insidiously, ensnared by their own obsessions, their guilt, or the inescapable weight of their past. In Rear Window, L.B. Jeffries is physically confined to his apartment, his leg casted, a seemingly debilitating limitation. Yet, paradoxically, this very restriction becomes the catalyst for his intense investigation, drawing the audience into his voyeuristic world. Conversely, characters can become psychologically trapped by lingering traumas, buried secrets, or the crushing burden of perceived responsibilities, leading them down paths of self-destruction. This pervasive sense of inescapable fate, of being caught in an intricate web with no discernible exit, serves as a potent and terrifying source of dread. Hitchcock intuitively understood that our most primal fears often revolve around a fundamental loss of control, the overwhelming feeling of being cornered with absolutely no way out. He masterfully exploited this universal fear, crafting scenarios where escape seemed virtually impossible, and the only remaining option was to confront the inevitable, often with devastating and unforgettable consequences. This profound feeling of being trapped, of having one's agency stripped away, is a crucial and potent ingredient in the inimitable Hitchcockian recipe for suspense. His exploration of the uncanny valley, that deeply unsettling feeling evoked by things that are almost, but not quite, human, is also evident, particularly in his masterful depiction of characters who present an outwardly normal facade, yet harbor dark, disturbing secrets beneath the surface. Norman Bates in Psycho stands as the quintessential example, a seemingly harmless, polite innkeeper whose charming demeanor masks a terrifying, deeply rooted psychosis. Hitchcock excelled at exploiting the profound dissonance between appearance and reality, creating characters who were simultaneously familiar and deeply disturbing. This is where the true horror lies for many viewers, the chilling realization that the monster, the source of ultimate terror, can be hiding in plain sight, disguised as one of us, blending seamlessly into the fabric of everyday life. It's a concept that taps into our innate distrust of the superficial, our deep-seated fear of the hidden depths of human nature, and the unsettling possibility that the greatest threats are not external but internal. He forces us to constantly question our assumptions, to look beyond the surface, and to acknowledge the potential for darkness that exists even in the most innocuous of individuals. This persistent questioning of what is real and what is merely a facade is a fundamental cornerstone of his psychologically thrilling narratives, leaving an indelible mark on the viewer long after the credits roll. Furthermore, Hitchcock's masterful use of foreshadowing, often subtly woven into the narrative fabric with an almost invisible hand, is a testament to his profound respect for the audience's intelligence and their capacity for deduction. He never spoon-feeds information, instead, he plants seeds of unease, small, seemingly insignificant details that, in retrospect, take on crucial, chilling significance. The seemingly innocent remark, the fleeting, telling glance, the recurring object that appears in unexpected places, these all contribute to a growing sense of dread, a premonition of the horrors yet to come. This intricate technique not only enhances the rewatchability of his films, inviting viewers to discover new layers of meaning with each viewing, but also creates a deeper, more profound engagement with the film, inviting the audience to become active participants in deciphering the unfolding mystery. He trusted his viewers implicitly to connect the dots, to feel the rising tension, and to anticipate the inevitable, making the eventual payoff all the more satisfying and impactful. This intricate tapestry of narrative threads, where every element, no matter how small, serves a deliberate purpose, is precisely what elevates his films beyond mere entertainment and into the elevated realm of true cinematic art. He was a storyteller par excellence, who understood that the journey, the gradual buildup of anticipation and dread, is often as important, if not more so, than the destination itself. And so, as we peel back the layers of suspense, the psychological depths, and the masterful craftsmanship that defines Alfred Hitchcock, we arrive at a profound understanding. His films are not just stories, they are intricate psychological dissections, explorations of the human condition that tap into our deepest fears and our most hidden desires. He taught us to look beyond the surface, to question appearances, and to acknowledge the darkness that can reside even in the most ordinary of places. His legacy is not just in the iconic images and memorable twists, but in the enduring power of his insights into the human psyche, a power that continues to grip and fascinate audiences today. He was a true maestro, a visionary who understood that the greatest terrors often lie within ourselves and within the unsettling fragility of the world we perceive as safe. If you found yourself enthralled by this journey into the mind of Hitchcock, and you're eager for more deep dives into the world of cinema, the masters who shaped it, and the techniques that make stories unforgettable, then do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button now. And while you're at it, give this video a like, it truly helps us bring you more content like this.